Is loneliness all too familiar? Today, we're not gonna lie. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of NGL where we talk about the things in life that matter. My name is Natasha and today we are here to talk about a topic that is apparently quite common to Gen Zs, to young adults, and the topic is loneliness. So in our research, right, for today's topic, we kind of found some statistics. So it says that 1 in 4 people struggle with loneliness, and apparently Gen Z has been kind of labeled as the loneliness generation. Researchers have said that there is a loneliness epidemic going around, and in fact, the World Health Organization has declared loneliness as a global public health concern. They've even formed like a commission to work at fostering stronger social connection. So it seems like it's quite a serious issue that has kind of commanded quite a lot of attention. And so today we want to talk about this topic a little bit more. At the same time, we know that loneliness is something that is quite a personal experience. I think it's quite contextual and it differs from person to person depending on your background and the struggles that you kind of face, right? And so today we've invited 3 people to come and share their stories. And hopefully as you listen to their stories, you would also be encouraged and see that there is hope in your situation as well. So why not we begin by introducing yourselves. You can let us know your name.
Hello everybody, I'm Jesslyn.
Hi, I'm Josh.
Hi, I'm Gilbert.
Okay, so Jesslyn, Josh and Gilbert, they're here today to share their stories. As a beginning to this episode, why not you share with us one memory you have where you experienced some form of intense loneliness?
Intense.
Yeah, must be intense.
I remember being quite an awkward kid.
Okay.
Yeah, so like don't really know how to express myself. And I remember it like that kind of stuck with me throughout as I was growing up lah. Yeah. So when I hit secondary school, I also experienced bullying during my JC days. I experienced ostracism in my immediate class lah.
At JC?
At JC, yeah.
Quite old.
Yeah. I know, right? But it still happened. In part, it was, I guess, me feeling a bit resigned because I experienced it before. So like thinking, yeah, it's happened again. I'll just like grade myself through it. Yeah, it lasted for like 1.5 years. As a whole, as a class, you can sense it like they're all the different cliques, and I just didn't really belong in any of the cliques. In those occasions, I'll just go somewhere else by myself.
So you could just feel like they were also distancing themselves from you.
Yeah. When I entered the class, like it was just a very frozen, frosty atmosphere with me. I guess there were a lot of feelings brewing underneath. It's just I didn't know how to say it out. I didn't know how to respond to it. Like going to school was really quite difficult lah. But I also knew like must go to school because must finish, go finish your A levels and then you can move on from there. And that also added on the whole sense of who am I as a person, like can I really connect to other people? Like how well do I engage with them? Actually what they want to do. A lot of all these questions were there lah. Yeah, but after getting bullied, I think then I was like, okay, I think I just want to protect myself. I just want to be by myself, don't bother me. Just let me go about my day, like leave me alone. Yeah, I just want to be at peace. Yeah, and I think that kind of stuck with me quite a while lah. Yeah,
so a bit about me. I grew up in Malaysia, and back then, I would say from young, I was quite an independent, self-sufficient kid. I transitioned into homeschooling, which is quite a big thing in Malaysia.
How old were you?
I was 12 then.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was literally taught by my mom at home, 12 to 14 years old. And I think when I came back into the regular schooling system, that was when I started looking around and realizing that others had developed sort of more social tools and had easier conversations with one another. And that's something that gave me a bit of like social anxiety. And I think that formed the start of maybe periods of loneliness, or when I compare myself with others around me, I feel like I'm not quite up to that standard and I'm not enjoying the benefits of social connection. Perhaps like I'm comparing myself to other friends, or like friends are in relationships and I'm not enjoying that kind of setting, or when I'm just scrolling through social media, seeing accolades that people are collecting or experiences that they're enjoying, and I'm sort of just sat in my sofa at home kind of thing.
Why does that make you feel lonely though? Like specifically loneliness and not just like I'm worse off or like...
Right, because I feel like I'm just, I guess, stuck in a like a limbo period, like almost that word picture of being in like a dark room and you're just like alone there. And you're very far away from your aspirations, I guess.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Jesslyn, what's your story?
For me, it's when I decided to take a gap year because I don't really know what to do in my life. I don't know what to study next. And then everybody kind of moved on to do uni. And I think the whole decision to do a gap year, I think I realized certain things about my family that kind of like uncover a lot of like things in my life lah. I feel like I'm not understood and heard, and I don't really know how to express whatever that I was feeling also. So I think loneliness to me felt a bit more like because people do not understand me, or like I'm not heard and I do not know how to let people understand me also. Then I think that created that isolation. Yeah, like okay, like maybe just not meant to be with people. I don't know. Yeah, so
It's a very like tough situation to be in because it's not just not feeling understood, but it's not really knowing
yes,
yourself also, right? And how to say all of that.
Yeah. In that period, I experienced insomnia. I would just hear the birds chirps in the morning, and I just, oh my god, it's a new day. I need to sleep. Then I will try to sleep. Then I will sleep for a few hours. Then I go to like go on with my day.
Oh, man.
And I think COVID, I was doing my uni already. Then I like okay, then go for class, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So I find myself like fidgeting a lot when I have to like talk to people, or like I have to express what I'm feeling because I don't really know what I'm feeling. Then I will like okay, maybe like pinch myself as I go through the conversation. Yeah. So I think these are like the more intense period of my life where I felt loneliness very strongly because I didn't know what to do with myself. I just felt very out of place. Yeah.
So I want to ask you guys, right? Because all three of your stories, I guess, kind of began when you were a bit younger, maybe in like your teens. Now that you are an adult in your 20s, how do you feel loneliness kind of affects you as an adult?
Yeah, I think for me, because growing up with, and I think being by myself, it creates a lot of different like things I may tag to myself. Yeah, so you know, your self-identity lah, like oh maybe I'm just not very likable, maybe I am weird, maybe I am like I don't express myself well, maybe I cannot connect to people. So I think all of these things do play a part now, even now after so many years, where like it's a bit more subconscious. It took quite a number of years to recognize how is it affecting me, how will it, and I do think it will still continue to affect me, but it's just like over the years will like when it comes up, then it's okay. How do I make sense of it? How do I deal with it?
It's like you have an instinctive script in your head, is it?
Yeah, a very subconscious one. There are times where I enjoy being by myself. I'm sure you'll enjoy being by yourself also, right? Yeah. But at times where I hope, like, actually I do hope to have a connection with other people, then that's where I may feel sad.
Yeah. That's true lah. That's quite a good defining point. I think it's not so much like whether you're constantly surrounded, but it's the moments where you're desiring some connection and you don't have it, right? Yeah. Is that something that you felt?
So relate 100%. Yeah, because I think also with the whole comparison thing, right? Like people just seem to have their life all together. So like, they seem to carry themselves very well, or they seem to be doing well. But I think the loneliness will remind us a bit more like because you're just different and you're just like you're just meant to be, you know, just oddball, that kind of feeling. Yeah. So I think for me, I relooked at my journal recently.
Wow, self-growth.
Wow, then cringe. Okay, but so I think there was one incident in primary school that I remember like not living up to people's standard like expectation. Like basically I made a mistake, but I don't think I made a mistake. Like it was a group project or something. I cannot remember the details, but I think that stuck with me. Like the feeling of like being outcasted because I did something wrong. Yeah. So I think that led to me feeling a bit like it's always me trying to work hard and a bit like okay, me against the world. It's like the world is against me.
It's like misunderstood.
Yeah, and I'm not heard. I'm not understood. Yeah, or maybe I'm just hard to understand.
How do you deal with a feeling like that?
I don't know. So I was taught to be a bit more what's that word? But
to ground yourself in
compartment. So to put them into boxes. So when certain things happen, to not respond to it immediately, but put them into boxes. And then when I'm ready to face it, then I open up a box. So
No, it's very overwhelming.
yeah. So a usual like night. Okay, usually it hits at night, right, before you go to sleep. So and last time because of this whole thing, I struggled with insomnia for very long. So I had very, very long nights. And then to distract myself, I play games. So I play like brainless games, like those puzzle, like those
2048.
easiest. yeah, I want to say that
2048.
2048. Then
That's
Brawl Stars.
compartmentalized.
You're not sponsored, but
But if you want to sponsor,
Yeah,
we are
Brawl Stars
open.
quite intense, huh?
yeah. So that's the closest level. Yeah, so I think it's just the whole idea of like compartmentalizing. 'Cause
Yeah, I have a
ghost,
question.
Spaghetti.
Then how do you make sure you don't avoid it? Because it's so easy to like box already,
Box
then
away, keep it.
bye bye.
True. I don't know. I naturally will revisit them.
Okay, because
Yeah,
your
just come out
struggle
in
is
your
more
mind,
of like
isn't it?
it just is demanding to
comes
come
out.
out lah.
Yeah, it just comes
Okay.
out.
Is it because there are also other things that will trigger it?
Yes. I think the daily like life will trigger it. Like a simple conversation with my friend, then go home, then suddenly like, wow, why the person saying this? And then also because I people please lah. maybe yeah.
But that's where it's very nuanced lah. It's
Yes.
probably like multiple issues interacting at once.
Yes.
lah.
Now I know
Yeah.
it's like it's all these things happening at the same time. Then I didn't know, right? So then it felt a bit like, why am I feeling all these things? Like I hit 21 and then like suddenly like adulting looks like that. It's like
Right.
you're
Right.
feeling all these things and but everyone around me just seemed like they are okay. Or maybe they just don't talk.
Yeah. Maybe they all playing Brawl Stars at night.
Yeah.
That's why you've got friends to play with. All you people who play Brawl
They're so
Stars
good
at
at
night.
it. Playing game at night, right? They are so good. I keep losing. Just saying.
then it breeds comparison, right?
Oh, really?
Cycle.
Yes.
Hey, but I think you brought up a very good point, which I wanted to ask you guys. Like, at which point did you start to realize that, okay, maybe I need to dig a bit into my past, right, and process this? Because I think for many people in their 20s, you start to see the effects of your issues and your baggage bubbling to the surface, whether it's loneliness or other things, right? But then the next challenge is whether we avoid it, numb ourselves, or we dig into some of this baggage to find healing lah. So when did that point come for you? What was that like?
For me, I think the main antidote for this like seasons of feeling more frequent loneliness was coming back to sort of figuring out my identity, which was very much in line with my faith, pursuit of faith again. A big part of my personal journey was coming back to church 2 years ago. And that, for the first time, gave me that taste of like Christian community and really being a part of this community which wants to contribute to one another's well-being. I was brought up in a Christian family, but I never really felt belonging in church in the past. Yeah, I never joined any of the youth groups and whatnot. I always preferred to be with my family in the main sanctuary. So I felt by coming back into this or tasting this goodness of spiritual community, it helped to anchor me in who I was and what my mission is, so to say, in life.
Actually, is it because you kind of spend a lot of time with a group of friends who are maybe more aligned in the way they want to see themselves and see other people?
Yeah.
Maybe if you're in a community where everyone's focus is kind of just to encourage each other, to check in on each other, and not so much to boast about their own achievements, then it helps you to deal with that a bit more internally.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Gilbert, what's your experience like?
Yeah, I think for me, it started when I also first came to church. Then first joining a community of people that I felt like, thank God lah, they were quite welcoming. They were quite accepting. I think it's from there that I started to realize actually what challenges am I facing in connecting to the community. Yeah, like what made it difficult for me, and what was I going through internally? Like why am I feeling so many different things? And I think over time, it just kept revealing more and more. Okay, what are the areas I need to work on? What are the areas I need to grow? Yeah, I remember this very awkward time in NS. So I was trying to connect with a friend. Yeah, then like I was telling him, I think back then I didn't eat much vegetables also lah. So I was telling him, okay,
Everybody's story.
yeah, I was like, hey, like he was behind, like we were sitting in different tables. So I was saying, hey, I'm eating my vegetables. He didn't hear me. So for some strange reason, right, I took the vegetable from my bowl, I flung it over.
Oh, wow.
He landed on his tray.
Wait,
That's
why you
pretty good.
angry?
I wasn't
That's
angry.
good
I was just
accuracy. Yeah.
it is right.
Like, you trying to play, is it?
No, I was just trying to connect a lot. Like, hey, you know, I did this.
What's in your mind when you bring the vegetable to him?
I think I just wasn't really thinking. I was just like, hey, maybe this will connect with him.
That's cool.
Okay, so what happened after you flung the vegetable?
He was slightly frustrated, you know, naturally.
Slightly. Just slightly.
Yeah, then I realized that actually, I don't think this was a good way of making a connection.
Were there other things that you noticed? I mean, other than finding it hard to know how to connect, other than you throwing food?
So I think it's the level of my own self-awareness. I was working in environments that require a lot of self-awareness, a lot of self-thought, a lot of like actually what am I feeling, what's going on. Yeah. So that, and then like I went for this training on trauma. Yeah, they did like a whole like they brought everybody through a whole like psychodrama and trauma. So then everybody, I see everybody there crying, breaking down, like experiencing things, right? Then for me, I'm like, I feel dead, like nothing's going on inside. And that was when I started to realize that I may have been very disconnected from my emotions.
Wow, okay.
I think it's like a protective effect. Yeah, because if you're feeling too much of it, right, then you're like, let me just set up a barrier, like something to protect myself.
Actually, I can chip in on the connection part. I think that was something, because I mentioned earlier I had that social anxiety. I was observing people around me and comparing how they relate to others around them compared to how I was trying to relate with others. And I felt that, you know, others were more charismatic. You know, there's this one particular guy who was very easily connecting with anyone in the class. And to be honest, I did envy that. And I felt like, you know, how come I can't produce that same level of connection with others around me? And why was I feeling this fear to try and reach out in the same way or start the same kind of conversations? And that led me on a path to sort of picking up these social tools and learning how to read social cues from observing how this particular guy responded to such things. And I think that was actually a good thing. But unfortunately, I sort of used it for the wrong purposes eventually as I went into, you know, equivalent of junior college back in KL and then finally into university. I was using it more just as a means to try and fit in with others around me. Especially coming into university here, I didn't go for NS because I was Malaysian, and trying to fit in with like the whole thing of NS guys year one, right?
It's impossible. We've been
really
trying
tough,
for years and we still understand. I still don't get what they're talking about.
Yeah, it was a whole bunch of acronyms and everything.
Yeah.
And the way they behave is also quite polarized in a way. So I tried to use all these social cues, social tools to better relate with people around or better fit in. But I think that sacrificed any form of like authenticity. I'll try to be different people to like a different personality to different groups of people. And that, while that helped me make more friends, it didn't really help me form connections with these people. Like, because I was being a different person in trying to, I guess, relate to the group or fit into the groups. Or I wasn't brave enough to take that step and prioritize authenticity at all times and forego some of the friendships or activities that I may have had to forego because I was being authentic.
It's an interesting point because I think sometimes when we look at people who are very social and we see them fitting into many groups at once, you may not necessarily think of these people as lonely because you may equate being connected to not lonely. But now we see an example where even somebody who's able to do that may not necessarily feel very connected.
It could be a little bit forced and you can do it for a period of time, but it's not, I would say looking back, it's not wise to do it.
And it's quite exhausting, I assume.
Yeah, it is.
I think when we're younger, sometimes maybe things are a bit more like, we see it in very black and white categories and just like, okay, if you have friends, that's good. Or like, if you're able to talk to a lot of people, that's good. And to some degree, we may even prioritize like the volume of friends, the number of friends you have, as opposed to like maybe even the quality of friendships. But I think now that we're older, the good thing is maybe we are able to see more layers and nuance to things, and that may open the door to appreciating what we have, even if it doesn't look exactly the same as other people's friendships or connections.
I used to look at people's like followers on Instagram and go like, wow, so many, like,
or like the number of likes and all.
Exactly.
And I think that is probably also why, like, when you talk about Gen Z being the loneliest like generation, it's probably also linked to the fact that Gen Z grew up in the social media. Jesslyn, did you like grow up being very involved in social media?
Yes, I did.
Did that contribute, do you think?
Yeah, probably. Cause I used to be an extrovert, right? So I love talking to my friends. So like we will call every night. Every time like at home, the phone will ring. Like, you know, the house phone. They're like, oh, it's mine. They're like, so I think to me, because I've experienced that, like like a lot of friends. Like I love hanging out with people. Yeah, I guess that's why when it hit that that phase in my life where I decided to take a gap year while all my friends went on to uni, and then when I was feeling like all the emotions, like, oh, who am I? What am I? Why am I feeling this? Then like I didn't really know how to articulate also. Then it became complicated. Yeah. So then with all that in already happening, then with social media, it's like wow, look at everybody else traveling, going on with uni, campus life, joining hall games, whatever. It kind of just like, oh, okay, I'm here struggling in my gap year, don't know what to do with my life. Yeah, so I think that's that. So the irony is I'm now a social media manager. Right? So
You're part of the problem.
I'm the problem. Okay. Flashback to People Pleaser episode. No problem. Okay, no, but so it's interesting because like now I am in that space, right, where I mean, of course, it's for like work lah, to manage the account, get more followers and things like that. But I do recognize that, it's like, no, I do think like how do I use this space for more positive impact instead? Yeah, because I know how much it will affect people.
I mean, I guess with loneliness, it's quite hard to separate loneliness from like friendships.
Yeah.
And like how we build relationships, right? In all of your experience, like after becoming an adult, I think if you don't struggle with loneliness, becoming an adult already is challenging lah for your friendships. But given that you do struggle with loneliness, right? How was that transition like, you know?
When I first graduated, I first moved on, met a lot of new different people. Like it was still the high of that lah. But gradually, it's a sense of, hey, what's happening to all the other friends I had grown up with, people I've known for a while. Like, from you meet like maybe 4 times a year after you graduate, right? Then slowly become like 2 times a year, 1 time a year.
Too real.
I think it's very common. I was reading some statistic that they were sharing, American one lah, but they were saying like, I think the past 5 years, like there were more Americans who have not made any new friends than people who have made. Something along the lines.
COVID also, right?
I think it was like this year's statistics for the past 5 years, something like that.
So actually out of, like mostly out of COVID lah.
Yeah, out of COVID.
I think the last big spell of loneliness I had was during COVID. But coming out of that, I was quite intentional in pursuing the hobbies, things that I enjoy. And for me, it's a lot of sports. So I set up like different groups to have that routine, like sports at once a week or once in 2 weeks with different groups of friends. And I think that has helped a lot. It's a very natural pursuit of things you love with those who also like the same thing, right? And so people will make time for those things usually. Of course, if it comes to like busier seasons, then sometimes you just like, I think a lot of one thing I enjoyed is like friends bring friends. So then that's a natural way of like building your circle even as an adult. And these people are usually also looking out for others to hang out with, right? Especially post uni. So I felt that part has been a bit easier. People are more willing to just draw people together and enjoy these kind of sports or whatnot.
I feel like that's a good point, and that's the good thing about interest group friendships, that it's lower stakes, I feel, as compared to like a friendship group where we've known each other for a long time. It's a bit weird to bring somebody along to add that person into this friendship group, right? But with interest groups, you kind of put yourself out there. There's a natural chemistry already because of the common passion. I think the challenge then maybe it's taking it beyond just the activity, because it's easy to just see each other like once a week, play frisbee, but actually we don't really know much about each other's lives. We just kind of play, get along well, and then we go home.
That's true. So I usually try my best to pair that with like a makan session or something, or like go supper, even though it's sometimes tougher with work and whatnot. But I find that I guess I have to be also ready for that so-called rejection if people are busy after and whatnot. But I don't take that personally, so then I just try again the next week or whatnot. Yeah.
Actually, one of the things that I realized I had to figure out as like we adulted with our friends, right, is that I think whether you feel lonely maybe also depends on what you are looking out for in friendship. I think if it is very important for you to find understanding, right, then it's very hard when the life stage diverges more and more. Maybe when we're in like our early 20s or like fresh out of graduation, I think it's not so obvious because everybody's kind of like at that same stage, right? It starts to diverge when people get married, when people have kids. And I know quite a few friends who maybe like get married or have kids earlier than their friends, right? And they start to navigate a sense of loneliness because like nobody's in the same life station as them, and like in some sense nobody really understands what they're going through. And I think that's a very valid response. But at the same time, to me, it sheds light on how maybe we have in some sense over prioritized being understood.
Yeah.
And having to go through the same things as our friends for that to be considered meaningful connection. But actually, if in our friendship, a lot of what we look out for is really just like that companionship. We can be going through different things, but as long as I trust in you to want to know what's going on in my life, and I also want to know what's going on in your life, even if, let's say, I'm a mom and then you're still struggling with like trying to meet someone and it's so yesterday for me. You know, like actually as a kind friend, I will want to understand what you're going through. And to me, in my friendships, as long as there's that kind of like mutual interest in each other's life, even if we are going through very, very different things and we don't immediately identify, that one I still consider quite like a meaningful connection. So I feel maybe there's some room for us to revisit what we define as like good friendships, as being understood and journeyed with, which then has a direct impact on whether or not we feel accompanied or lonely.
So my reflection recently is I feel very sorry for the friends that I've made in the last few years as I was figuring out like everything that I was feeling. Because I think like I wasn't being a good friend in the whole season. Yeah, like, you know, you just come and then you, I don't know, like perhaps just, you know, like expect that you want to be understood and and want to be heard. Yeah, then I think as I was reflecting, then I realized like, oh, actually that wasn't it's not nice. Yeah, and I felt very sorry for the friends that I met the last many years. So I think because I'm 25, right? So then next 5 years, I want to be a better friend. Because the last 5 years, I was just figuring out, which I think is necessary. But I just feel sorry. So then at least for the next 5 years, as I am continuing to discover that bouts of feeling that will come and go again, to still be a better friend, to not expect coming to meet up and to be understood.
I think not all is lost. I think at our age, everyone wants to reconnect, and I think everyone acknowledges as well that we go through different seasons, and so we're also like figuring stuff out. So I think as long as you are able to articulate what you are going through to these friends, or like hopefully it's a safe space and you have that trust with them, then I'm sure they'll accept you back and like will be just willing to go on with the friendship, you know?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I feel like that was such an honest sharing.
Yeah,
but like what Josh said, do you think you will have this conversation with your friends? Or they will find out on our NGL episode?
No, I don't think so. Okay, no, but thankfully I didn't, like, the whole period I didn't burn any bridges with my friends. Like, they're all still around.
That's good.
So I had a conversation with my friend about it. Like, you know, how do you feel when I was in that whole phase? Like, was just in a mess, right? Yeah, but then she was like, oh, actually I don't remember. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, but that was quite funny. Yeah, but then to me, then I've learned still to give holding statements. Yeah, to if I'm not ready to talk about it, or like, you know, I don't really know how to express myself, then I learn to give statements like, you know, I am not ready to talk about it, or rather I'm still thinking about it. Let me get back to you, next time we meet, that kind of thing. But thanks for asking, thanks for checking in. I think that is, I guess, like something that I want to do better the next 5 years as I like continue and be a better friend.
Yeah, it is like part and parcel of that journey with friendships, right?
Yeah.
Like you all experience the good and bad parts of each other, and you can see like how you feel inside maybe overwhelming, how you like how your friend may experience you also.
Yeah.
Yeah, lor. A lot of times it's overwhelming to you, but maybe your friends also don't really see you in that way lah.
Yeah.
Just that you feel everything very strongly.
Yeah.
yourself. But I think if there's anything that I'm capturing from your story, I'm actually quite encouraged, like hearing how you were in that space, but where you are now, you're trying to kind of figure out ways to be a better friend, to be more communicative. And to me, that signals growth there.
Yeah.
Like it really, really signals a lot of like maturity on your part. And I feel that is quite hopeful, because sometimes when you're in that state where everything is kind of spiraling and crumbling, I'm sure when you were at that point, it's very hard to imagine like moving past this point. Yeah, and sometimes you can't really see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? But from your story, I feel there is hope lah to some of our listeners who may be at that prior point where they feel stuck and they feel like, wow, you know, everything's just so messy. I don't even know how I'm gonna ever like improve on some of these friendships and connections. I think there's a way lah to find your way out of it and grow as you mature in your 20s also.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in your struggle with loneliness, right, have you all ever felt like, wow, if only I was in a romantic relationship, maybe I wouldn't feel so lonely?
Yeah, I think so. I got into my first relationship when I was 24, which I guess you could say is relatively late. But before that period, I think I always placed like romantic relationships on a pedestal when compared to friendships. And I think that wasn't quite a healthy idea, because it's not possible to have all this expectation on your partner to solve your loneliness per se. And that's something I realized shortly after.
But actually, in your experience, right, was it that at some point, even though you had friends, you felt like that was not enough because you didn't have a partner?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and I think I was having not a very good understanding of the importance of friendships. I think that also ties in what I said earlier about authenticity.
Yeah.
And I feel you can only really enjoy the sweetness of friendships if you are being authentic around them. Yeah, otherwise it's just a means to some other end.
Yeah, and it does leave you feeling quite empty lah, because you know very clearly that you're not being known.
Yeah.
How about the two of you?
Yeah, I think for me, when I am experiencing loneliness, I think the pain of the loneliness comes out. So when I'm experiencing that pain, right, and not thinking that nobody's really around me, the solution for me wasn't to, let's find somebody who can be with me. The solution was, let me retreat into a little box in my in my own mind, and like experience the peace that is there.
Is there a fear that like when you enter into a romantic relationship, you may be more disappointed when this person also doesn't understand you?
I feel a lot of that fear. So I think it's easy to I do find myself like thinking that way. Like, okay, if only maybe there is a romantic partner that I can share, that I have companion with. Because mine was a lot more of like wanting to be heard and understood, right?
Yeah.
So, but then there's also that fear of like entering one. So, I had a few like talking phase thing before COVID, like before this whole loneliness thing happened. Yeah, and then but when this whole loneliness thing happened, then I realized that then my natural instinct is also not to have like long conversation with people, or rather have that like that talking phase even. I do find myself thinking, maybe it might solve everything, but at the same time, the fear is also as strong in a way that like, but like if this person see everything, it's mad, it's wild, like it's crazy. yeah. So I think I'm still in that process of understanding then how does it look like in a relationship where, you know, I am a mess, but relationship can still I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, but to some degree, right, when I hear what you share, I feel like that fear is not necessarily all bad, because I think you recognize that your messiness can have an impact on the relationship. And I feel like that awareness, when you manage it well, right, can be channeled into working on yourself. You get what I mean? Like, because you recognize that the mess is like has implications on other people, there's some motivation to like, okay, if I really want to enter into a healthy relationship, I have to maybe go through some like healing or like work on some of these things. Conversely, if you think that, never mind lah, maybe a relationship will solve it, right? I feel like those then become the relationships where the dynamic gets very complicated, because I think that you are going to solve all my problems, and then like what Josh said, right, I come in expecting you to solve all my problems, and then when you can't, I think for some people, then it causes them to go into that spiral again that really nobody understands me.
Yeah,
Even this
yeah.
person who's supposed to blah, blah, blah. But the person was just not supposed to always instinctively understand everything you're saying. What maybe
Yeah.
the internal work is I need to communicate myself better, or I need to heal from some of this baggage. I think today we covered like quite a lot of different themes, and I guess that's the thing about a conversation with loneliness, right? Because everybody struggles with it slightly differently,
Yeah.
and so there are just different themes to pick into. And I'm sure we didn't even cover everything
Yeah.
today. I'm just wondering, as we close off this episode, right, to some of our listeners who may be struggling with loneliness in their lives, what are some advice that you might give them?
Find community. Don't be too afraid of that prospect, and like don't feel like you need to be perfect. Just be yourself, be authentic, pursue the things that you like, and naturally you tend to express yourselves more naturally as well in things that you enjoy, and try and find people who love the same kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And from there slowly work out lah. And you don't need to have a huge circle either, right?
Yeah. I think on that point on being authentic, if I can just add, right, I feel sometimes we don't dare to be authentic because we see that there are things in ourselves that other people may not like, and that opinion might be completely valid.
Yeah.
It might actually be true that I see within myself a certain selfishness that other people may not like. But then I feel the responsible response to that is I work on my selfishness lah. Rather than like, then I try to not engage with people so nobody will see that I'm selfish. Yeah, and actually if we can commit to that work, actually that's what Jesslyn did, right? You saw something in yourself that to some degree sabotages your relationship building, right? But you commit to working on it. Actually, down the road, you really get to experience much more fruitful connections. You know, so not all hope is lost, but we got to commit to the self-growth lah. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Loneliness may be happening now, but you don't always have to be lonely. Definitely, there are people around who are willing to walk with you, who are willing to journey with you. It may take some time to find, but know that like you're never truly alone lah. And I agree on the self-growth portion. Because if we're not growing, we are also dying lah. And I think in today's like world like there are a lot of challenges that's happening, a lot of uncertainty, instability, and we cannot just stay in one spot and hope that things will work out.
Just like Dory.
I don't know whether mine's advice, but I think reflection I had recently, very, very recent actually, is I heard this song that goes, you see all yet you still want me. You see all and still you want me. Yeah, so I guess when I thought about that is the whole idea of like, wow, like I'm completely seen all my mess and stuff like that. Sometimes in the loneliness you feel like loneliness reminds us that it's shame, and it's like you're just too much, or like you are odd, you are out of place. But then actually like we are seen by, perhaps for you it's like maybe family or like friends, you are seen and you are still wanted, you are still loved and you are cared for. And I guess for me it's more of like realizing that there is a God that like see everything that I am, right, and even form the way I am, and still want everything that I am. So I guess for me it's finding comfort in that, finding love and like care in that I can seek growth. Because honestly, if I can't find that like security in who I am, then it's very hard to find that strength to want to grow or want to like improve myself. But it's in fact because I know that I'm already cared for, I am seen, yet I'm still wanted, I can grow, I can move forward. So I guess for you, it can be faith, it can be like, I don't know, your family members, your loved ones, they have seen it all and they still want you, they still care for you, they still love you. I guess that is encouragement to like keep moving forward.
You reminded me of a reflection I had on that, that sometimes when we look at our own like ugliness and brokenness, and then we cannot ever imagine how somebody can like see all of that and want us still, or like want to commit to us. Maybe the person just better than us. Maybe that person really is just more loving than we are. If we see that in a person, maybe we would reject the person. But maybe my friend, my family member, God himself is much kinder to me than I am to people. And thank God for that lah. Thank God that we're surrounded by people who actually maybe have better character than us, are more loving, are more accepting, and they are much more willing to embrace us fully, then we would be willing to embrace ourselves or another person. And that is something to be thankful for. I think sometimes in that self-rejection, we push these people away and we project our inability to love ourselves on them. But that's not fair. Yeah, like I think I would even go so far to say that that's really not kind to them, because they want a space to be able to express their love to you and show you who they are, but we reject that and we don't even let them express who they are. And maybe when people around you want to love you and are willing to take your mess, let them lah. That could be healing for you, but it's also healing for them to be able to love. Yeah,
It's true.
Yeah, just adding one more thought. I listened to a podcast recently, and it was talking about how it's important not to see loneliness as a sin or something we shouldn't be doing or shouldn't be feeling. I think it's very akin to hunger or thirst, right? Where loneliness actually propels us towards friendship or connection with others, and I think it's quite a healthy feeling to have at times, right? And I think that's what God created us for, right? To be in communion with one another. And so it's on us to learn how to connect and love our neighbors as ourselves.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on today's episode and sharing your experience. I think through all your reflections and obviously you having gone through a very deep personal journey, I think we got to really catch a glimpse of what it looks like to find our way out of some of these struggles. And we hope that for those of you listening today, you found some things that you could resonate with. And we really hope that more than just resonating, that you are encouraged and you feel hopeful that whatever situation that you may be stuck in right now, that really doesn't need to be your end point. There are many ways to connect with people and many ways to discover new and meaningful friendships that could really add to you even in your adulthood. In fact, one of the things that we really believe in NGL is connection. And that's why other than our podcast, we also do hold quarterly gatherings in person where we bring strangers together. Anybody who wants to sign up for our parties, you get to come and we force you to engage in conversation with one another. I would say force because you have no way out of it unless you leave. But we kind of force everybody to just sit down, to have a conversation and get to know people. And as an introvert, right, I have to say the first party, I dreaded it so much, right? Even though I'm the organizer, right? I was like, why am I going to sit down with strangers and talk for an hour? But after that first time, I was like, it's not that hard and actually it's a lot more enjoyable, right, than I imagine it to be in my head. And I realized so many more people are willing to meet strangers and find friends because everybody is just longing to connect with somebody else lah. And it's self-selecting lah. The people that come for our parties already want to talk. So it's just not that high stakes and it's really okay. And if you're struggling with loneliness and you really feel like you have exhausted all your communities, right, our parties are like a fantastic place to start. I'm not just advertising for advertising's sake. I really think it will help you. So sign up for our next party. Come, you can chat with us, you can meet us, and you may just see whether a friendship could birth out of that, and we will be so happy to celebrate it if you find a friend through our parties as well. It will be so encouraging to us. So thank you so much for joining us again for today's episode. If you know somebody who is struggling with loneliness, please feel free to send this episode to them, send our party invite link to them, and we really hope that you just find some encouragement from watching our videos. If you like our episodes, you can find more on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on our socials on Instagram and TikTok at ngl.people, and you can join our Telegram broadcast channel where we share behind the scenes footage as well as information about those parties. So until the next episode, we'll see you again. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.